Hope you found that very inspiring. Inspiring in the sense that if you've never tried out going to the spa, you decide that henceforth you'd give yourself a treat once a month. I don't joke with the spa. If you're out there thinking, oh, I really like Olive and I like what she does and I want to spoil her, that's absolutely one way to spoil me. I would never say no to a spa deal. But that's enough for now. It's time for us to look at a very important topic, something not talked about as often as it should be, cerebral palsy. Now we have someone in the studio with us who's a founder of Benola Initiative. He is Femi Obadebo, AVM OFR retired. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. You've been on this platform. You've been with us before, but not on Hello Nigeria. And it's a pleasure to have you back again.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us about the Benola Initiative. What is it about?
The Benola Initiative is, thinking outside the box as to how to get people to understand a very important neurodevelopmental disability, which is cerebral palsy, and also change the way we look at disability and how we manage disability. It came about because my wife and I have a son who was born in 1996. So actually, next month, June, he's going to be 21. He was born with cerebral palsy, and from day one, it was obvious that there were some issues with him. He couldn't feed normally, he couldn't do certain things normally. But it took us close to a year to get that name, cerebral palsy. That was after we finally got a neurologist in Lagos to do a test. He was born in Kano while I was still serving there. And from that time on, it was like, maybe like the world just came to an end because it was really, really confusing. There were things you needed to figure out. He just wasn't developing the way he should in terms of neck control, seizures, and stuff like that. But we went on a very long journey, and luckily, we handled it well, I guess. And having been to so many countries, India, Germany, US, the UK, not necessarily always taking him, but because of my job at that time as a pilot in the Air Force and my wife also traveling, we got to see a lot of things that led us, after my retirement, when he was 12 years old, to the conclusion that something was wrong with the way we manage disability in Nigeria. And we have never hidden the fact that we have a child with cerebral palsy. He has two older brothers who dote over him completely. We lead, by all intents and purposes, normal lives. Yes, we're not as sociable as other people because somebody has to be with him at home and all that. But it was because of the way we've talked freely about him that one of my friends, a doctor, came up with the idea that we do something. And everybody was of the opinion that, okay, we should also set up a home or stuff like that, about cerebral palsy and all. But because of what we had gone through, I concluded that, setting up another home would just be doing what everybody else was doing. And we needed to do something that will change the game. Okay. And the reason why, as of 2013, when we started, you couldn't see the picture of a Nigerian child with cerebral palsy, is that unlike autism and Down syndrome, and a few other disabilities like maybe attention deficit disorder, where the child looks normal, fully normal, and can be managed to behave in public and so on. A child with cerebral palsy deteriorates as they grow because of damage to muscles and inability to control muscles. So stiffness comes in different ways per child. At the end of the day, by the time the child is 8 years old, they don't look exactly like they used to look when they were small. It could be some are not affected facially or in the upper body because it affects. You can line up 10 children with cerebral palsy and see 2 of them that look exactly alike. It's just like somebody having a stroke. It depends on how badly the stroke has affected you and what part is affected.
Now, you mentioned earlier that when you found out that you and your wife had a child with cerebral palsy, you realized that I want to find out how people reacted. Now, you mentioned that, there's a doctor friend of yours who said because you spoke freely about it, you should start up something. But I want to imagine, because of the kind of country that we are, that some people had said negative things, or generally, how was the reaction? Did anybody advise you at any point, you know what, don't say it outside, keep mum?
Well, the first thing is that, I'll tell you, when you're sick, you go to the hospital, and the doctor treats you and doesn't bother to ask of you again, you don't have a problem. But when you go home and the doctor calls to ask how you're doing, there is a problem. And that's what happened, first of all, with Olalua. For the first 6 months, everybody kept saying there was no problem, he was going to grow out of it, it was a slow development issue. But there was so much concern from the doctors and people in the hospital, and that really was quite interesting. But you see, as you started to, you see, up till when they're like 2 years old, they're quite manageable because the muscles have not fully developed. They're flaccid, okay, but then they look chubby and nice and so on. But it's when they start growing older, when the muscles are getting stronger, that the stiffness and the body, the malformations of the body start to take place. Because you see, if a child with cerebral palsy holds on to this position, which they can do for hours, they can forget, okay? What now happens is the body begins to take that shape. And so you'd see most of them, if it's a lower body, then it's a lower body. If it's an upper body, then you see upper body. And then some, it's the whole body, even the face. So you find that when they want to talk, they know what they want to say. They know what they want to do. But you can just see the facial contortions as they're struggling to get the muscles to do what they want to do. So you'd find, and then they drool. Because you see, the tongue is the most active muscle in our body. And part of the work it does is to help keep our mouth moist. So, I mean, the saliva that comes there. So the tongue helps you to swallow. And when you're unable to swallow, the natural thing is you'll dribble. And so most kids with cerebral palsy dribble. Some adults do too, but they've learned over time to manage. I have a friend with CP who always has a hanky, and he always goes like that, If you don't observe, you won't even catch him, but you just notice those movements. And that's what he does to stop dribbling all over the place. Now, the muscle also has a lot of muscles. I mean, stomach has a lot of muscles that also need to be managed, that help us push, help us do all that business that we need to do. Now, if you don't have active control of your muscles, there's going to be a problem with bowel control. So in a home where the parents are not well trained on what to do with these kids, the kid will drool, they'll pass urine and all that at different times, and the house will stink. Okay. The child itself will stink. Okay, the mother. So you find people telling you to go and dump the child in a home, to get on with your life. If God wants the child to survive, the child will survive.
Which leads me to my next question. I have a threefold question, but I'll start from the end and then come back to the beginning because we have a few minutes left. Is there any cure for cerebral palsy?
There's no cure for CP.
No cure yet, but it can be managed.
It's all about, everything is about management. You and I, on a serious note, we're managing.
True.
You see, society has accepted certain conditions. Somebody stammers, somebody has, vision impairment, somebody has hearing impairment. There are all kinds of tools and gadgets that they can use to manage themselves. And even autism these days and Down syndrome, there are medications and therapies that help the children cope and perform better. There are also things to be done for children with cerebral palsy. It's just that the parents must, first of all, understand that there's no cure. There are too many charlatans out there trying to proffer all kinds of fake solutions, whether it's prayer, whether it is, some wonder drug from one part of the world or another. And you see, when parents continue to look to those things, they will waste time in managing the kids the way the kids can be managed. Every human being is useful. Every human being can do something, no matter how minute it is. And once we begin to celebrate that little thing that they can do, they begin to bloom.
Very true indeed. Now let's look at prevention. Are there things that one can do or not do that may predispose them to having, most especially from the part of the pregnant women? Because we know that when a woman gives birth to a child, she starts to look for, if something is wrong with the child, society primarily blame the pregnant woman, up to something as delicate as losing a child. they ask her, what did you do when you were pregnant? Did you drink alcohol? Did you do this? So is it any fault of the parents in any way during the conception of the child?
Well, pregnancy and the creation of life is a complex process, which even modern science is still trying to grapple with. But there are conditions. It's like you want to plant a fruit, a seed, tomato, okra. You must get the things right. You must get the timings right. And you must also know how to nurture the seed to grow and bloom to fruition. The same thing with pregnancy. You see, a lot of, I'd say, young women, maybe or first-time pregnant women, don't even know they're pregnant for a while. An active woman who's gymming, who's doing road race, or even in the local parlance, pounding yam and so on, if she doesn't realize she's pregnant, she's already stressing that child. Then if they don't go for antenatal, certain things are missing. If they're not feeding well, and there's the interesting one, if they're going through some stress, where it could be marital stress, there are hormonal imbalances, and these things can lead to complications in the womb for a child. So it's all about managing and also going for antenatal. So if we have proper maternal child care systems, if we have, what I'll call intensive care units in our hospitals and pediatric nurses who are trained to handle little children. You see, there's nothing wrong with having a premature child if you have the right knowledge and technology to manage that child.
True.
But when you don't have it, manhandling a baby, people talk about therapy, physiotherapist. If you get a physiotherapist that would normally manage me or like an adult, to now do physio for a 1-year-old child, they could actually injure the child if they overflex some muscles and stuff like that. So and that's the problem in Nigeria. We either don't have this kind of personnel, or they're in very short, they're in short supply.
So we don't have enough supply to match the demand.
You see, when the government talks about job creation, there are so many job opportunities. But you see, the average private hospital is not going to be looking for a pediatric nurse or a pediatric surgeon or stuff. Those are specialist areas. And that's why we have teaching hospitals. That's why we have general hospitals and some of these special hospitals all over the country. But unfortunately, government has failed to realize that providing medical services for people goes beyond just, a normal doctor, midwife, lab, and maybe X-ray. You find even to get a dentist in some local governments is not possible, because government has not realized that you must have this specialist at all levels of government. So once you are not employing them, the incentive for people to train in those areas is not there. And if they do train, then they go outside. They go outside the country.
Very, very sad. Okay, finally, before we let you go, there's some people who have just had children with cerebral palsy, or there's people who they're confused. You took something that could have thrown you off balance, and you decided to turn something that could have caused you pain into a purpose, and you're impacting lives, you and your wife, and we must really applaud you for that. So if there are other people out there who are in similar situation but are confused and don't know what to do, what words do you have to say to them? How can they contact you? Do you offer counseling services and support systems for parents?
Yeah, we do. We have a website, which is incidentally right now is one of the most authoritative on cerebral palsy. It's www.benola, benola.org. All our information, phone numbers are on our website when you get there. I'll say knowledge. Knowledge is power. The reason why we still have stigma is because people are not willing to study or to learn. Okay? And so what you don't know frightens you, scares you. And you see, Nigerians are very nice people. Nigerians always want to help. But most of the people who are trying to help you are helping not from a position of knowledge, but they are helping from a position of ignorance. And so they are the ones who keep coming, have you tried this? Have you gone to this place? And so on and so on. But when you take time, go to our website, read about cerebral palsy, empower yourself. And then you'll be the one telling these people, it's not a disease. It's not an infection. It's all about care. What they need to do is just show you some love, and things will be well. And
truly, you can live the best quality of life with a fantastic support system. We've had someone on our set, Tobiloba Ajayi, who is a lawyer, and she's been able to, take this and make something amazing out of her life still. So thank you for the work that you do. She mentions that you're a very big influence in her lives. I've seen that on her social media.
No, we actually work together. Yeah. She's a part of Team Benola. Benola is we're more of a virtual organization. We have a fantastic team of experts scattered all over the country, mostly in Lagos, who work with us now. So we're constantly formulating formulas and ideas and strategies. The whole thing is just to make sure that people get to understand the realities of this, not just cerebral palsy, disability. Yeah. You see, we're all disabled. So let's not look down on anybody. Let's begin to understand that for some, but somehow God has made either my disability attractive, or He's made it something that is not so obvious. So this other person that looks funny, maybe they even have a better understanding of life than myself. If you see my son, he's always happy. He's always at peace with himself. And he doesn't have to do anything. I'm the one who has to worry about doing things for him. I mean, sometimes I look at it I wouldn't mind being in his position. I know, right? If I have somebody who would care for me very well.
At the end of the day, all we need is someone to show us love and care. So if you find anyone, like you said, there's always something. We all need love. We all need help one way or the other. Show everybody around you love. Do not treat them like there's a stigma. We need to start fighting against certain stereotypes that have been embedded in our society. We need to kick against them and make everybody feel loved and equal, because in actual fact, we all are equal. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you all the best with your initiative, Benola. Thank you so much.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love her.